This one is called Opportunities and Challenges in Migrating to AI-First Tools. Let's set the stage. Legacy systems like RPA and traditional CRMs we know have long been the backbone of business operations. But as AI-first models take center stage, the shift isn't just about upgrading, it's about rethinking the entire approach. And that's what we just heard Jürgen, Trang, Dave, Limor, and Himanshu talk about. So today in this next panel, we'll explore what it really takes to move from workflow-driven systems to intelligence-first tools. What are the biggest integration hurdles? How do companies manage change effectively? And most importantly, how can they unlock AI's full potential for better ROI, efficiency, and innovation? We have a fantastic panel here among you to come on up and break it down for us. So let's welcome up Vikas Sachdeva, CIO at Health Drive Corporation. We'll also be joined by Nishith Chaudhry, Vice President of AI Program Management and Governance at State Street. Also, we have Shravan Kasarla, Head of Enterprise Data Management, CDO at Commonwealth Financial Network, and our moderator, Gurpit Singh, Head of Global Data and Analytics at Partners Capital. Do we have those folks in the room to come on up and join us? Thank you for volunteering to be our moderator today. I know you folks have been able to meet ahead of time, so you're already well warmed up. The stage is yours. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Nick. Let's start with saying thank you for the previous panel. Very good discussion, very insightful discussion. Thank you very much. So we're going to talk about one of the most pressing challenges we're going through for AI enterprise stack today. How to migrate from what we have today to AI-first kind of world. Now, if you really think about it, from last 20 years, 30 years or so, while we're going through internet and digital revolution, the focus was always been designing the systems that human use to interact with. And we're going to move away from that, apparently, where machines will speak to other machines and we will just observe them. How do we tackle that? How do we approach that? We're going to talk about what that kind of AI tech stack look like, what are the approaches and roadmap for the transformation, and how do we justify the ROI? My name is Gurprit Singh. I'm head of data at Partners Capital. I look after all aspects of data from data governance, data quality, analytics, AI. If you don't know about Partners Capital, we are an outsourced investment office. We work with high net worth individuals, family offices, and charities and endowments, and we manage their investment essentially. I think with that, we have an esteemed panel with us. I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Vikas.
Hello, I hope this mic is live. Good morning, everyone. I know the coffee is flowing, breakfast is not. So we need to be a little bit more lively in this conversation today. My name is Vikas Sachdeva, CIO for Health Drive Corporation based here in Birmingham. A little bit about Health Drive. We are a multi-specialty provider services organization. So we have medical professionals, dentists, nurse practitioners, hygienists, behavioral health counselors, MDs, really provide care to long-term care, assisted living facilities, skilled nursing homes across 20 different states in the United States, across 4,000 different facilities. We do about 1.5 million encounters or visits, patient visits every year. So that's about healthcare. Prior to joining healthcare, I was with financial services and insurance for over a decade, with Hartford Financial Services, and also as part of my AI and data journey with Quantify, which is an AI-first digital engineering company focused on really insurance sector a lot. So I will be giving examples there. And as a CIO for retail, for Edible Arrangements International, so I will be with all of these experiences here hopefully today. But one thing is common across all of these experiences, which is thinking about technology, not to run the operations, but thinking about technology as business enabler and how to really drive the business outcomes that are necessary with the backbone of technology, whether it was a digital transformation at one time and or now AI transformation. But in the healthcare space, of course, what I figured out is it's really one of the most regulated industry and complex environment from compliance perspective. So anything that change that has to drive here is even more complex than financial services, and I know my panel may not agree with me, but that's about it. Hopefully we can give you some live examples of the work that we have done and the challenges we have faced. So looking forward to the discussion here today.
This is Shravan Kasarla with Commonwealth Financial Network. We are, again, investment advisory and a broker-dealer in Waltham, Massachusetts. My role as the head of data and also a enabler. So I'll talk about why I'm talking about a enabler, maybe as we go through this. So my experience has been in the data space and machine learning and AI enablement space for 25 plus years. The financial services is where I will be bringing. I know Boston is known for financial services first and then healthcare. Maybe we can argue that because a little bit, but definitely very different regulated industries with a very different purpose. Both of them will impact lives, but in a very different way. One is literally impacts life and the quality of life. Another one will be quality of life and the needs and pleasures of the life, right? I think there are both of these industries, but really looking at, I think this is a great time to talk about how we can leverage with all the investments that we have made into technology and into business process designs that we have been going through. How do we power it? How do we infuse it? How do we integrate and work with? I'm excited to be part of this panel and talking.
Because we are 3.5 to 0.5 in terms of financial versus health science. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nishit Chaudhary, and I'm with State Street, another financial organization. So just a quick background of State Street. We are a fourth largest asset manager. We manage around $5 trillion worth of assets under management. That's what we have. And because we're going to talk about legacy systems, and legacy is different for everybody else. Your legacy could be 10 years. States is 232-year-old company. Okay, so our legacy goes that far, even when we didn't have a system. Also, we handle approximately 12% of daily asset transactions happening overall the world, globally. So why I'm telling all this is to give a context about the systems, right? When we talk about modernization, talk about changes, this is the impact, and this is where regulators look at things differently. My role currently is of AI program management, and we have, I think, in the last panel talked about the hub and spoke model and how they moving the development and usage towards closer to the business. My job is to bring these guys together because we have very strong leaders. They have different perspective. Somebody wants to run with agents tomorrow, and then we have our governance bodies within the organization which are very scared right now. This is one of those times where I think, because you mentioned off the stage that business is more excited for the change versus the technology. Technology is very, because we know what it is and we are very cautious about it. So my job is to bring all of these together, bring them on the table. Guys, fight it out, but agree on a strategy. Work as one team, have AI everywhere. So my job as of now is to bring these senior leaders together and say, Vikas, agree with Shravan, and let's move forward with the strategy. What do you call an agent? There's a discrepancy on that also. Where do you define the agency, level of agency? And in my last meeting, I'm sorry taking too long, but I'm trying to set the context of my role because it's a new function we are setting up. What is the level of agency, right? Is Microsoft Copilot an agent? Or it's just we are leveraging models behind it? And there's a difference of opinion I see at very senior level that they think it differently. So I'm just bringing a different vantage point right now of how CIOs are thinking, how CDO is thinking, how my AI head is thinking, and how my governance bodies are thinking. And there's a small chair for people management, HR also, because they are also important. So everybody, we have to take everybody together. That's me.
Thank you, everyone. Awesome. So I think let's start with, I'll start with you, sir. Let's start with a bit of blue sky thinking. So there are people who know more about AI than I do, claiming that in the next few years we'll have $1 billion company ran by a CEO and lots of things. That's kind of world we are apparently moving towards. And there are also people who are saying that we wouldn't need the SaaS-based platform as we have it today, that they will just go away. And at the same time, even in my organization, we are implementing a new SaaS-based platform for portfolio management. I think the question is, in your view, what that tech stack would look like would be AI first, let's say 5 years down the line. Would we rip away all the legacy systems and agents will run amok and run the organization for us? Do you think there will be still space for SaaS-based platform?
Great question. I know when every time a new technology got introduced, I think we talked about this, right? And again, let me not go back too far back, but just the 1999, end of 1999, basically when year 2000 came, everybody thought mainframes will go away. Everything else is ERPs or other systems that we should do. That didn't happen. Then digital, everything became mobile, web, and then mobile, and then we called them digital. We called machine learning. All of them coexisted. I think that's what I see. Even with a from the ground up company, while we talk about AI native, so I'll talk about distinguishing how I see it. One short answer for that is I think there is going to be a combination of all of them. And then how do you infuse them? How do you power them with AI now as a new layering of technology, layering of capabilities? That's one way to look at it. Very short answer. But let me also talk about, when we talk about AI and we talked about AI first, I think previous panel focused a lot on AI first. AI first to me is an approach, not a technology, right? But when you look at AI stack, or today if you look at not just AI stack, but applications as a whole, things which are AI native. So AI native are this ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and all of these are AI native. I mean, all they do is AI. Without AI, they don't have any function, they don't work. Okay, that's one. Do organizations develop AI native? There are some organizations which are developing from the ground the LLMs for their industry. Maybe companies like State Street, which are as big, maybe a consortium might develop that. Then the next one that I see is more of AI integrated. What's the difference, right? AI integrated, or take a trading platform for instance. Algorithmic trading has been happening for quite some time. Now infusing trading or wealth management platforms and then making them that they're constantly using this AI capabilities, intelligence to drive some processes, AI integrated. And then AI infused or AI powered or AI connected, everything else. So the point is, we're seeing more and more of, I think AI integrated could be ServiceNow, AI integrated could be Salesforce trying to introduce AI within them. But I see that there is a combination of AI native to the AI integrated to AI infused is what we're going to start seeing. Whether we use the word agentic, we'll start talking about that in the next question. But I see that to be the architecture, that a combination of all of them through, I think one of the panelists in the previous one talked about that this automation or agentic automation existed for a long time. That used to be called shell scripts with the jobs that dependencies. We have done this a long time ago, right? We do some kind of an integration and automation using all of this. That's the tech stack / architecture at a very high level that I will talk about.
Awesome. Vikas, do you see similar thing in healthcare or anything different?
Definitely. I would actually give you a live example of how we are doing AI first differently. So I believe pretty much every one of us have visited a doctor. And the workflow is pretty standard. You know, a doctor goes into a patient room, typically understands the patient history before walking in there, understand what the lab results are telling them, having a discussion around the clinical and diagnosis, going through the treatment plan, putting the right diagnosis code so the insurance and payer can be billed, and ultimately deciding what the next steps are, how often you need to come back to visit me next, recalls, what we call in our industry. So that process is very, very step-by-step structured, and we built it because it's a highly regulated industry, so we need to have all of those things captured properly in the structured format to begin with. Now, let me talk about AI-first approach here. So we just implemented an EMR, which you carry on your, pretty much on your phone. It has an experience layer, which is a conversational to begin with. So the provider can actually ask, give me the history of Servant before he is a patient, before walking into that room. Gives the synthesis of that one. Walking into the room, there is an ambient listening between capturing the conversation between the provider and the patient, converting that speech into text immediately, giving you summary notes that now, as a human in the loop, as the previous panel was talking about, confirms that these are the right notes. Ask the questions back and forth for clinical pathways, ensuring there is a good differential diagnosis, which is a big problem in the industry, by the way, finding out different problems that symptoms can be showcasing, and the providers in a fast schedule may not be able to understand that quickly, but AI is suggesting and augmenting their intelligence at that time and creating that clinical pathway that's necessary. Now, next step is, of course, it all needs to get paid, so it's suggesting the codes automatically that now payer has to bill, and finally, all the recalls and next steps are. Now, in all of this is happening in a conversational interface without anybody following a step-by-step process. This is not something that's going to happen in 5 or 10 years from now. This is happening today. It is different from how we built assets in every place, but this was one of the live examples I thought I will quote here today, is where AI-first approach is thinking differently, thinking not as a system of record that we always think about, but thinking it as a system of intelligence, making sure that it's API-driven, foundationally has the right data that's necessary, have experience layer, which is conversational in nature, and be able to drive all that process, which doesn't feel like a rigid step-by-step process.
Thanks, Lucas. Very helpful. Let's change the gears a little bit. I think we are moving into a new world, which is very exciting. But I think everyone in this room would appreciate moving away from legacy technology and transforming it is very hard. We mentioned mainframes. When I started my career around more than 20 years ago, mainframe was an obsolete technology. Even at that time, no one used to work in a mainframe. And we know, at least in the larger organization, we struggle running core systems on mainframe. So it's not easy. There are challenges around it. And the other aspect of that is to think about, which was touched upon in the previous panel too, which is the technology is evolving rapidly, as we all understand. And if we go on a large-scale transformation now, let's replace our CRM system with an agent, right? Think like that. In next 6 months or 12 months down the line, we probably have a very good working agent solution, but it will be obsolete not in 20 years, in next 2 years. So I think let's start with state. What approach you're thinking about, what would work architecturally or organizationally or working with the business? How do organizations should think about moving from where we are today to maybe agents will be working with our core systems seamlessly and running the organization for us?
Yes, we are a young company, so our legacy is small, just 20 years old. We still have mainframes, like you said. I think the approach, what I've seen is that you have your modernization strategy in place, which focus on key components. For example, how you're going to when you talk about tech modernization, it's not only the app. So you're looking at the app modernization, you're looking at the data systems underneath that, how you're managing your data centers, your operating model, your people, how you're implementing cyber resiliency within that. So we do have a strategy which is multi-year. Okay, I think we are 60% done with that. And that included AI, which we knew a couple of years back, traditional AI. So that covered that. Now comes the generative AI and agents. So now the pivot, what I've seen is two-pronged approach. Okay, the app modernization and the tech modernization continues. Okay, but business leaders and their counterparts, counter CIOs, are taking lead in having AI overlays, which means, and that's again, I've seen two approaches when I see different use cases coming through and how we are implementing. One is bottoms-up approach, okay, ground up, where you have a workflow and you see a component of that workflow that you feel, your business feel that AI can help bring in efficiency, it can reduce defect, it can improve your experience for the end users, and you pick up that part of it and augment with AI, okay? And you build snippet on that and have an AI overlay and you improve that part of it and show efficiency, and which is that, for example, you bring in, I'll come back to the example later on, because another point which I want to touch. The other approach which I want to talk about is top-down, okay? Where the business CIOs working with businesses, they are picking up the whole value stream, taking up 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet up and say, okay, traditionally we have created the value using these flows. How can we leverage AI to redesign this value stream altogether? And that's where we talk about transforming into a native AI value stream. And both have different timeline, different approaches. The bottom up is quick one. You develop a use case, you do a POC, and if it works, you implement, scale, and all of that. But other one is strategic, because our systems and our processes are integrated with our customers, okay? With open architecture and interoperability, a lot of to and fro happens between us and customers. So we have to bring them on board when we think of those things. So that's a strategic decision, long-term approach. And I think I see some caution also, because AI is evolving so fast. What you knew a year ago has changed now. So that's what we see. Also, we are leveraging Gen AI to speed up the modernization. And one recent example, just looking at all our use cases, GitHub Copilot has helped modernize the app faster. So we were able to refactor an app which was scheduled for 30 days timeline, was done in 5 days, okay? 30,000 line of code was refactored into around 5,000 line of code. So that, not just leveraging AI to provide value to the customers, but we are leveraging AI to even modernize our tech from legacy to.
I think just the way that the both examples said, right? There are processes which are well established and repeatable, because whether it is for reasons of regulatory reasons or for just the business process efficiency reasons, those are some of them that you can enhance those processes with AI use. Other ones are reimagining some business processes. Again, let's not automate the same process that you've been doing, because it now can be done completely differently. Not that there are 15 steps that you want to automate. There might be 5 steps, or there might be only a couple of things that you can do through conversational interfaces, through other means. I think that's what organizations' AI strategy need to look at is, before jumping and adopting. Of course, there will be low-hanging fruit is, there is an existing process, just make it efficient, productive, summarization, easy to answer, experiences. We have such use case that we had to go with our advisors meeting with their clients. A lot of times the challenge is, do you have the real face-to-face conversation, whether it is on Zoom or in person, or you're taking notes about what actions to be taken, what you promised. right? I think that there are several tools that which came, which are solving those point solutions in the existing process pain points. We have to take combination of all of them to go, but reimagination is where there's a big opportunity, and it's not a big transformation either. You could take one process and reimagine that, and then of course, thanks to the whole agent-to-agent attribute frameworks and MCP, that now you can do multiple of these parallelly and then start attaching them. So that's the, I think it presents so many opportunities for us to apply for the first time. This technology is so ubiquitous that it can help in doing that or reimagining or existing automation to even legacy technologies to be brought into through the agentic process.
Thanks, Raman. Vikas, would you like to add something before we open the floor for questions?
Yes, so I think we were just talking about how we could build and reimagine if we were to start fresh. But pretty much everybody in the room, I can imagine, has legacy systems, whether it's mainframes or system of records, CRMs, RPMs, EMRs, you name it, different industries. I'll give you an example of a different industry here, this time insurance. In the insurance side, there are two main processes, right? One is underwriting, because that's how the underwriters are assuming the risk. I know somebody from Prudential already spoke about that. Claims being another moment of truth. This is the time when the claimant is under distress, wants the support from the insurance company to settle the claim or the loss that they just experienced. In both of these situations, there are system of records already in place. Insurance is again one of those industry, 225 years old, Hartford Insurance where I work, so I was thinking about, yes, these processes have been in place before the systems were even invented. It was paper-based, then systems came in, mainframes came in, and all the other things happened. How do we really infuse AI into that overall equation? So let's talk about claims process. Paper heavy, a lot of documentation come in. You can actually look through converting that unstructured information into structured information so that could drive the downstream claims adjustments automatically. You can triage the claims. You can free up the time of those claim adjusters to really focus on the complex claims instead of focusing on some regular claims, freeing up their time. So this is all about, as Salman was also talking about, picking up a workflow. You don't have to rip and replace all of it. You take the pieces of it, automate it, make it more efficient, make it more intelligent, and then pick up the next one in that strangulation pattern as needed.
Awesome, thank you everyone, great discussion. Do we have time for one question? Let's do one question.
Questions for our panel here?
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Carball. I'm also at Commonwealth Financial Network with Shravan. My question is around finding the balance between large strategic modernizations, particularly if you're trying to do multiple at the same time. How do you think about balancing the large lifts and the strategic process change in different areas of the business? Do you think about dependencies, what goes first, all the sorts of pieces that need to go together?
Start with Vikas. Different opinion.
I think I'll sound like a cliche here. Don't boil the ocean. Again, think big, start small, think responsibly, innovate at scale as much as possible, but on the other hand, you want to balance the risk that comes with these technologies along with what the benefits it will provide. The board always talks about, not the technology, they talk about the outcomes. From that perspective, the use cases that we're picking up has to drive that ROI or the value, as the previous panel also talked about. But that doesn't have to be really boil the ocean and modernize and rip and replace all system and all the workflow. To me, it's all about where you're spending the most time and efficiently can you drive that process forward, just go and automate that piece first, and then you continue to build upon that.
That's great, because, so Jackie always asks these tough questions when I'm on the stage, so I think it's not pre-planned, but she will do that. But I think coming to the big modernizations, right, I think one thing that this technology presents is an opportunity to break it down and chunk it much better than any other technologies ever, right? Where there was client-server tool, you have to go to the more web and e-commerce based and more that kind of architectures. It was very difficult to go through the process because you had to lift and then completely rewrite it versus there is a reimagination and process that which can be laid over existing complex modernization as well, or parts and pieces, because it's already talked about. You take the parts that which are more painful and then start making them better. See, that's the beauty of now all the agentic framework finally taking the oldest principles of the computing and automation and dependencies to modern intelligence-based now models and everything. That's what it's providing is an opportunity for us to take smaller processes, chunk it down. Now, I'll use one grand or a cliche statement. Rome wasn't built in one day, right? It has to be done one by one. And this, for the first time, this technology provides an opportunity to chunk even the most complex modernization into smaller parts.
Okay, I'll just add one more line, and then I think we're running out of time to answer that question. I absolutely agree with. Just to add one more thing, when you're thinking about big wins versus large term strategic changes, you have to do both, because without strategic changes, you won't be able to get there where you want. But if you show the value out of quick wins, and that verifies the technology and verifies the value of it, you buy yourself time and capacity to do strategic changes. So in my view, wherever I start, it doesn't have to be any kind of large project. Start with quick wins, publicize that, show the value, and use that to buy me more time.
Real wisdom here from the trenches shared by Gurpreet, Shravan, Nashif, and Vikas. Let's give a round of applause for these gentlemen.